And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. We are currently focused on Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 3, Points of Light. Or is it Point of Light? Point singular, I believe.
Point of Light.
Thank you. Thank you. Points of Light. And that and if you're new to Starfleet Boy, hello. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. If you like our discussion, please comment below and also subscribe and do all those things. And now I would like to welcome my guests. I'm so pleased that we have the return of Trekker Prize, Gary. After many episodes, he has returned to us. You're like Barkley. You come on like once a season.
And make me go for
He's like Kayles.
Or he's like Kayla.
We've been waiting for him.
We've been waiting for him.
I go with Berkeley.
And so Gary is back, and then we have you're quickly becoming one of my most prolific. You might be a co-host, like by law, like you might have to be a co-host here. So Sean from Trek on the Tube, I'm so happy to have you back.
You can't get rid of me now.
Well, we'll talk about that. There's a weird blobby disease in this episode of Discovery, so that's a good thing. I just called it a disease for the first time. I never thought of that before, but I don't know if that's true. And then we have PJ, who I've had discussions with on Tex Trek's channel after we would do live post short Treks discussions, and you're at Bow Trek, right?
Yep, that's
great.
right.
And there it is. It says it on the thing too. So PJ, since you're new to Starfleet Boy, this is I know you, of course, but but since you're new to Starfleet Boy, we love to always hear a little bit about your Star Trek story, like why you like Star Trek or love Star Trek, how you came to Star Trek, and what you're doing, because you're also a YouTuber and also you're active on Twitter. So we'd love to hear about your Trek adventures. So go for it.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm a casual YouTuber. I don't do it as much as you guys. You guys do a video every couple of days or at least a week.
It's true.
Or maybe every day. I don't know.
Every day. I'm not every day.
I've seen all of your videos like on and off. But what I do is just very casually, just by myself, usually with no video, just talk about whatever I want to talk about. And there's no real set schedule to it. It's pretty lazy and laid back. But I first started watching Star Trek in 89 or 90. I can't remember the exact year. At season 2, because our local station used to air everything a season late. But then when I started watching it on CBS in the early 90s, got into DS9, then Voyager, loved seeing the movies. Couldn't find anybody to go to Generations or First Contact or Insurrection or Nemesis. I always went by myself, except for Nemesis. Somebody went with me there.
Is this all in your town in Newfoundland where you live, or
yeah.
Did I say it right, by the way?
Yeah,
I did. Yes. Okay. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I just had to let my cat in.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. So I've been a fan for a good almost 30 years, I guess. So
that's awesome. All right, cool. So you'll have to go back if you haven't already seen Gary's introduction. He's like in season 1 of Starfleet Boy, and then if you want to see Sean's introduction, you can go back to the very, what is it, like the 3rd or 4th episode of Discovery that you came on, Sean?
Didn't I do a TV first?
That's homework. No, you didn't. I'm pretty sure. Were you? I don't know.
No.
Starfleet Boy is not known for his great memory, but now now we'll know that PJ's first episode. It's like, yeah, there's a lot to keep track of on the show. PJ, since you know the show, we try to do a brief summary of the episode, and then we go on to casual and informal discussion. So this should be right up your alley. I always offer the summary, the job of doing the summary to my guests first. So would any of you 3 gents like to do the summary, or should I do it?
I'm rusty.
Wait, what was that, Gary?
I'm rusty. I think I'll skip it.
You're passing. All right. How about you, Sean?
Well, no.
All
Last
right,
time I
PJ.
did a good summary, and you were actually impressed at my summary, so I'll leave it at that.
I was. Okay. Wow. Very cool. I love a lot of your summaries, by the way. And then what about you, PJ?
It's about Klingons.
You're gonna do it. Yes. Go. Go for it.
Oh, cool, man.
Well, it's all about Tilly, and well, it opens up with that, that race in the around the corridors. The what is it called? The half mile or something. And Tilly's hallucinating. She's seeing that ghost, and Burnham's there, and she congratulates her and all this. And then what do we go to the Klingons after that, or?
I think like so.
I saw this episode. Oh, sorry, I saw this episode like 2 days ago.
No, you're totally fine. I will help you
Or
a little
yesterday.
bit because I just saw it again. So basically, we find out that Lieutenant Spock is psycho and he's murdering his caretakers or something like that. He's murdering people. Tilly is having a hallucination of someone she knew in like high school, and the hallucination's like very crazy and scary, and her name's May, and she's like really demanding, and she makes Tilly goof up on the bridge, and Burnham is obsessed with finding out what's going on with Spock. Amanda comes to visit. It's super melodrama. I loved it, by the way. But so Amanda comes to visit. She's pissed that Spock is in this like psychiatric ward, or actually we find out he escaped. He killed people and escaped. Sorry. So she's pissed about it because she doesn't believe that's like Spock. Pike doesn't believe that's like Spock, and Burnham doesn't believe that's like Spock. Pike doesn't like to use holograms, which I think is awesome. And then what else? Come on.
We have to talk about that.
Well, the Klingon stuff, they get into Shot trying to take over the.
That's right.
L'Rell's position and all this. But he speaks just like his son. You notice that?
Yeah, well, I mean,
the actor plays in the exact same way.
I think my dad and I speak the same. I'm not sure, but it happens sometimes. It happens.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, did they take the same actor? And then he started speaking. I was like, yeah, they did. It's Kenneth Mitchell again.
What about paint that has like technology in it? That was cool.
Oh, God.
Like
I like that.
All right, wait, we're skipping ahead. So wait, the
I like
summary. So the summary. So the Klingons are having like continuing to have battles. Apparently the D7 battle cruiser is L'Rell and Tyler's idea, or they're resurrecting it, because some people have told me it actually appeared in Enterprise. I don't remember that episode, but like I heard that it actually may have appeared before. You guys might know better than I do. Anyways, it's kind of cool stuff going on. The Klingons look interesting. We can talk about that. And then finally we get a preview of the Section 31 show when Jojo appears. And like it was like a pilot within an episode, I thought. And we get Giorgio, and she's badass, and I'm very curious to see what Gary thinks of her, Empress Giorgio, or what security consultant Giorgio. And then that's it. The episode ends. It doesn't really do a lot in terms of the Red Angel storyline, except for that it seems like this is a break period, because like there's only 7 dots, and I don't know if the whole season's going to be about this or if it's going to be a mid-season up till a mid-season thing. But next episode looks really exciting, and that's all I got. I stole the summary from you, PJ. Sorry. I stole it.
Captain's prerogative.
Does anybody care about these Klingons or what?
Okay,
I care about them. Go ahead.
I like the idea of a modern Star Trek show showing us like the how should I say this, the political dynamics of various races. Like I like the idea of having, this is what's going on Earth, this is what's going on like on Andor, this is what's going on Kronos. And I like the idea of seeing all of these different races. And I would have liked to see Romulans, even if they never interact with the Federation and Starfleet. Just see what's going on with the Romulans. I like that idea. It's just that the characters.
I can tell you what's going on with the Romulans.
Yeah,
they're bored.
They're plotting against Picard, right?
Yes, it's true.
He doesn't exist. But I agree that the characters that we're given, like the Klingon characters that we're given, they're not interesting to me. I don't care about L'Rell one single bit. I don't care about Vox/Tyler one single bit. Of the three things that I want to be accomplished this season is get rid of the spore drive, kill Tyler, and kill L'Rell.
Wow.
That's what I need. And then the show can move on. I feel like these things are dragging the show down. They're like remnants of season one, and they need to be gone because we have this Pike, we have this Red Angel, we have Mystery, we have a great Amanda Grayson, and I feel like the show is trying to propel itself somewhere, but it's being weighed down by these anchors of season one.
Do you think Amanda Grayson is a descendant of Dick Grayson, who was the original Robin? You ever thought about that? It might be spelled differently. I don't know.
So she becomes the next Joker. That's what you're implying.
Oh my god! Wow. I felt the opposite. Except I still don't really care too much about what's going on with the Klingons, but I have to admit that this season I care a little bit more, and I actually am on Team L'Rell. I kind of want to see where this goes. I should preface and say that I watched this episode with my mother, which is already an exciting thing. Like last season, I tried to watch Star Trek Discovery with my mother, and she hated it. She could not stand it. The Klingons were too scary for her. She was like just not into like the darkness, and she just like didn't want to watch it at all. So this season, when she saw Captain Pike, I think she has like a little attraction to him, like to Anson Mount, because she
to be honest.
Fair enough. But like regardless, for whatever reason, she's watching it and she's actually enjoying it. And I have to admit, like that like kind of is hitting me in a pretty deep way. And I'm like, I know there's like still a lot of flaws, but the fact that like an older generation can also enjoy Star Trek, and maybe even kids, maybe not too young, but like, you know, like 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds, like I would love for Star Trek to be that. And I don't know that that's ever going to be the case again, because it is like, you know, in the age of like The Expanse and Game of Thrones, like how can Star Trek have, you know, like any prominence as a show without being more adult? But I do think that this season's tone is really exciting. And the Klingons, I think, need more work. Like, I really think that I have to agree with the critiques that say that the makeup is still like a burden. The actors look like they're struggling to act in these costumes, and I do think that that's true. But overall I'm really enjoying like this, like finding out stuff about this period of Klingon, like what you said earlier. It's like, you know, popping in on the Klingon politics. And then I do think you're right. Like, I think it'd be neat to just get a Romulan perspective, or pop into, or even Andor, like, or Tellar, you know, Tellar, sorry, and see what's going on there. I think that I like that about Star Trek Discovery. But I also felt that in this episode, it was well balanced, because the Klingons weren't the whole show. Like, there was enough other stuff in this episode to kind of balance out the overall enjoyment of the episode. I think they didn't go too far for me as far as how much Klingon was in the sauce, as Ketwalski likes to say.
I wanted to add one last thing to what I said. Though I'm not exactly a fan of these Klingon characters, and not exactly a fan of what they're doing with the Klingons on the show, I kind of feel like that you couldn't just abandon the Klingons completely after season one. They needed serious course correction. That you needed to kind of explain the evolution or something. You couldn't just leave them after season one, like, oh well, they'll win home. They have like a terrorist leading them and moving on, right? You needed to kind of do something about it. So even if I'm not a fan, I understand the need. There you go.
And putting hair on the Klingons doesn't fix them either. Just
yeah, I don't understand why people
in season 2 or season 3, if there's going to be season 3, like especially utilize the Klingons in season 3. What if there's an attack on the Klingons against a certain race we haven't heard of in canon before, say, and the Klingons are desperate and they use the augment virus again, thinking they perfected it, but they don't realize that it affects them long term. So like 5 years down the road, they can look less ghoulish, I guess. I don't know. But they can't just leave the Klingons the way they are, put wigs on their heads and say, well, we fixed it now. This is what they look like. You know,
it's
the handlebar mustache guy with the huge cranium. It's like, it looks ridiculous.
Can we?
It really
Does
does.
anyone have any images of the Klingons from this episode? Are there any online that we could share? And
I'll tell
and
you
maybe
what,
dive
it is
into?
interesting because they have this the production team behind Discovery have this tendency of like we stand behind what we did, but then they go on and show us the new Klingons, and they didn't just put hair. Like L'Rell is completely remodeled.
Yeah,
Okay,
Well,
they
she's
toned
not.
down her ridges. They pulled like they put her cranium correctly because it was like long, it was elongated and ugly. They did a whole lot of work on it because they realized that it was dumb what they did.
And they didn't tone down the other Klingons. They made her look
Yeah,
better.
her uncle is just
What-
wacky, right? Her
Yeah.
uncle is all huge. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the look of Cole Shaw though. That guy. And I'm sad he's dead now. Like he's the one I would have liked to see. It's like the same thing they did in season
Takuvma.
1. I wanted to see Takuvma continue on, and then they killed him the first episode.
They killed a good
He's
Klingon.
my
Here-
favorite Klingon.
here are the Klingons from this episode of Star Trek Discovery that were in this episode.
What the hell?
That's
No, I'm
L'Rell
just
in the
kidding.
middle.
No, but like I do think it's interesting that they did try to do this. Like there was that one you were just referring to, the one Klingon that has like a kind of like a weird mustache or whatever. I don't know, and some strange hair. I mean, look at Christopher. What's his name? Oh my God, I'm such a bad remember of actors' names. Christopher Lloyd. Oh, the doctor's gonna hate me, like even more than he does now. No, but
Yeah,
the
that
real
was only the second. That was only the second iteration of the redesigned Klingons for the
right.
films.
I think that because of all the changes that we've seen throughout all of Star Trek for Klingons, that I think it's like a safe assumption to say that like Klingons don't really care about manipulating their appearance. Like I think they're down for like genetic engineering. I think they're down for, to
Really?
that we think
Wolf says
that
we don't
remain
talk about it.
we think that remain Klingon means visually, right? Like that's probably why I think a lot of people are kind of thrown off about this, but maybe to Klingons, since they are super alien, right? Like maybe it just means something completely different and we're learning more about that. And that's the way I'm kind of taking it at the moment, just to see where, to kind of like not think about it too much.
Visual changes of the past don't justify modern day visual changes. Like it's not because in the 60s or in the 70s or in the 80s people didn't care about canon or continuity that today we don't. Today the fandom has changed. Today like the expectations of the audience are different, and we have the ability to like make good looking old school Klingons, right? Why go in wacky directions?
and the
Why
sad
can't you
thing.
and then they don't change the Vulcans? Like
Yeah.
the Vulcans are fine. We leave them exactly as they are because they're iconic. But then like the Klingons are not. I don't
Well,
know.
the Klingons are iconic to a lot of
Yeah.
people. I mean,
So why did anyway?
I think for like the fact that there's a Klingon
What's up with the neck?
dictionary. What do you mean? What's going on with their neck?
Well, look at it. It's
Uh,
all holy and anyway.
Yeah,
You
it's
mean
disgusting.
like a waffle?
Mm,
Does it does it look like a waffle to you?
does look like a
Yeah.
waffle. Waffle neck.
Well, if you think
Nostrils,
about it,
the-
like most times, like the traditional Klingon outfit covered their neck, right? So it's conceivable that there's more going on underneath there. We don't really see ever, to my knowledge, a shirtless Klingon until Star Trek
Oh.
Discovery. So who
Yeah,
knows
well,
what's going on? Oh, is Worf ever shirtless on TNG? Does anyone remember? Is that
Listen,
something
man,
he...
hey, Klingons never had those necks before. That's a redesign,
Right,
reimagine. It's not something that they're going to explain at all, I don't think. Now, you know what they've done now? They put the wigs on the Klingons. And in the minds of Alex Kurtzman and everybody at Star Trek Discovery, they fixed it. But fans are going to say, it's not good enough or whatever. And they should introduce the augment virus to fix it. That's the easiest friggin' way to do it. Do it in a couple episodes.
The problem
They
is
might
you'll
they might
notice
do it
that
in a couple seasons though, and that would be fine too, I think.
it would.
Can I bring up a point about the way Klingons look? You know the Klingons in TOS, which are just got in makeup, right? Ridges. Hello? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You broke up a little, but we heard you.
You all went black.
Oh no.
We've lost
This
Hey,
him.
I'm
always
back.
happens. The TOS
Okay, the
Klingon.
TOS Klingons. Look at Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country. Look at how subtle their ridges are and how like more human they look. Everybody's cutting in and out right now.
Oh, it happens. Just hang in there. This is a common occurrence on Starfleet Boy. We're talking across vast distances, so just stay there, hang in there.
Um, anyway, what I'm saying is the Klingons from Undiscovered Country seem to me like the Klingons in TOS. It's like they're the reimagined TOS Klingons with the pretty much no ridges, except they're very subtle. Look at Christopher Plummer. He's a human with like a bald cap and a little bit of ridge. That's it. You could imagine at some point we could see you could incorporate all the Klingon designs from all the movies to, but they don't do that. Their idea is to reimagine it. They looked at Lord of the Rings and they saw the orcs and they said that works. And then they looked at Game of Thrones and they said let's combine Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and make Kling orcs. And I hate that I actually hate that term, but in effect that's what it is. Like I just can't deny it anymore. Like, but the rest there's other parts of this episode that are actually very good. And I think we should probably get to that.
I've seen what you said kind of like a lot on the internet, and I agree in this regard. To me, I think up until now, the main reason, I think the reason I'm repulsed by the choices that the production team made personally about the Klingon makeup is because I don't see the actors, and I watch shows to see great performances as much as I do for special effects and as well as story. Like I think that like for me, when an actor can like shine through, I think Mary Chieffo is a really interesting person personally. Like I follow her on Twitter, and like, you know, for the most part, what I've seen, she's pretty neat. And I would love to see her not like I've seen interviews with her, and I would love to see more of her sounding like how she normally sounds and being able to like, you know, convey that. So I agree 100% that like the Klingon makeup is not the ideal situation to showcase or show off the ability of these talented actors. And the same goes for who plays Cole. He's also Ken Mitchell. Kenneth Mitchell is also an amazing person, and I think he actually like, you know, is creating this like pretty cool character. I mean, like Old Man Cole was pretty interesting. Like I kind of loved how, you know, like you could see this, like imagine with like better, more forgiving, more perhaps like enhancing makeup, how they could do better. And I think that's why you referenced the Christopher Plummer thing. I'm glad you did, because Christopher Plummer is a superb actor, and there's no doubt in your mind when you watch his performance in Star Trek 6 that it is in fact Christopher Plummer like being this Klingon character. And he also does some unique and like interesting things and brings a lot of depth into like how we think of Klingons. Like all of that performance in Star Trek 6 is awesome, because for the first time you don't have Klingons grunting and like mispronouncing words. They're like speaking in standard or whatever you want to call it, as well as Captain Kirk and Spock are. And so I kind of love that. And Worf obviously is the reason why it's weird. Star Trek 6 came after TNG, so Worf is actually responsible for that in many ways. But but yeah, so yeah, I do think that that's fine. Are you guys have any more comments on the Klingons, or should we move on to the other
illustrate
stuff
what you just said? I think the Star Trek fandom will all agree on Jeffrey Combs, right? Wayun and oh god, I forget his name in Enterprise, the Andorian that he plays.
Oh, shit.
Shran,
right? Wayun and Shran, they're both very, very alien species. They're both very different races. They have different motivations. He acts very differently as both characters, but you can see him. You can see his face. You can see his performance. You can see his emotions. And it makes those characters so compelling. And I think those are why they're like Trek fan favorite characters.
Awesome. Gary, do you have anything to say on the Klingons before we move on to the next subject?
Disgusting.
What, they're gross? Did you say they're disgusting?
Yeah, they were disgusting.
Oh my god.
I mean,
they are. I guess they are. Like
She just like,
That's true.
okay, we watched the episode bit together with Checker Prize, and
Yeah. Wait, you watched it with Mrs. Trekker Prize?
yes,
Does she want to say hi to the audience?
I think she spoke.
Okay, okay.
No.
All right, not today. Not one day. I'm gonna get Mrs. Trekker Prize on the show. It's gonna it's a goal. Anyways, go on.
It, I don't know. We both. Okay, first off, she didn't see too much Star Trek, but we watched Star Trek 6 together, and she kind of liked it. And then we watched this one, and we say that those are not Klingons. First off,
Gary,
which I
Gary,
know, long argument. Don't open this argument. Don't open this one. But
Gary, can we get you to hold the thing? Can we get you to hold the thing up again? Because you're breaking up a lot. But you weren't when you were holding it up. I know, it's so annoying, right?
I know. So basically, yeah. So basically, they just disgusting. I don't think the makeup improved, at least in Lara's case. I did like her like more subtle makeup. But I did find them disgusting. Like the fight scene just was unnecessary, and the way how they presented them again, it was just like brutal killers.
Oh my god! Wait! Stop! You didn't like the fight? We haven't even talked about the fight. Did you guys all not like the fight scene?
Well, I thought we were talking about the Klingons, and we wanted to move on. So like, okay.
I did, but I want to talk about the fight.
Let's talk about the fight scene.
The fight scene was awesome. That whack and then the blood splattering everywhere and like, come on, it was really great. No. It was like, oh my god.
You don't watch enough TV series to see enough fight scenes.
I did not watch much Game of Thrones, but Esther pointed out that it was actually Game of Thrones. Like, and
my mom also thought, but she actually said I like this better than Game of Thrones, so she's digging it. Like my mother is, at least.
You know what bugged me? They CG this pink blood everywhere, and that's fine. It's pink blood, lol, the Klingons. But they CG the blood, but then the blood doesn't appear on their, like, there's no physical makeup. The blood never appears on any of their uniforms or any of their costumes, which then is like, that's just dumb, right? It's like, that's not how you do fight scenes. That's cheap as fuck. You can't just CG.
Tone it down. They tone down the violence. They
add
they
CG
would have shown
blood.
red blood, but they're doing what they did in Star Trek 6, where they showed pink blood to get the PG-13 rating.
And then they don't put blood on the costumes.
The F word again in the show either. So,
do you guys have any idea what the official Star Trek stance is on the pink blood versus red blood? Like, is there anything? They've never explained it.
Well, the only explanation is that they used it to get a cheaper, better rating.
Yeah. That's the official, like, behind the scenes explanation. I had seen a theory that said that the pink blood was pink when like it was in 0G, which was interesting. Okay. But then this episode just disproves that. So that's gone. So sometimes it's pink, sometimes it's red.
I didn't like all the lightning and stuff. It's like an overproduced fight scene. Like there's thunder crashing, there's lightning flashing. It's just so overdone, and I didn't like the choreography. I just couldn't.
Yeah, if you actually take the time to look at the fights individually, it's very much. Sorry to bash on this movie, but it's very much Last Jedi.
Oh my god!
In the way that the fight scenes are kind of like, well, that's not really a fight, is it? It's just anyway. I wasn't a fan of the fight scene personally.
Just for a little clarification, I did check on memory also. Blood types. They have all the different colors and everything listed. And the Klingon is listed under pink lavender.
Pink lavender
They
blood.
don't have they actually have the Klingon red as well. So yeah, okay. So this argument is kind of
only the Picard crystal will tell us the truth.
Oh my god, you and your crystals!
The Picard crystal. The Picard crystal will tell us the truth. Look at what happens to Starfleet Boy when you look at the Picard crystal.
Oh. Okay.
Is that a new thing? I think I've been away so long.
Yeah, I got the Picard crystal in the mail. It was really awesome.
It's a new. It is a reasonably new thing, but he just brings it up all the time, so it's become old really quick, right?
Um,
Can I
so
fix this? I want to fix this. I have
There
to
it
fix
is.
this spot.
There it is. Uh,
You wanted to move on from the Klingons.
I did. Can we talk? So let's talk about
No, I have a
Portis,
last
Portis'
thing to say.
mustache.
I have to talk about Vok. I
Oh,
have
we
to
got
talk
okay.
about Tyler / Vok that gets mad at L'Rell for not talking, like for not speaking to him in Klingon. He's, I'm a Klingon, speak to me in Klingon, treat me like a Klingon. Why aren't you speaking in Klingon? Why are you speaking in English?
Good point.
So
I think-
double standards, boy.
I took the whole thing to be like Laurel is like kind of freaked out by him. Look, so okay, so think about despite what you may think about the Klingons or anything like that, if you were to kind of just like disassociate all your feelings about the production design, et cetera, like on a story level, what happened to Voke / Tyler is insane. Like they merged two people into one person, and I think that's why I'm appreciating the character a little bit more this season, because I do see that Shazad Latif, the actor who plays this character, is kind of playing him like an insane person. Like he does. You're right, but you're right about what you're saying. But I feel like
development doesn't work.
But I think it's a really good move to take Tyler, Ash, Voke, whatever he is, out of the Laurel situation and out of the Burnham situation and put him on Section 31, right? Because now we can explore the character on his own and not have him like kind of being this like thorn in the side of both Laurel and of Burnham. And it's also kind of weird too. Like if you think about the situation that is going on, like I've never seen this on Star Trek, and I don't think anything even, it's like if you think about it from just like a pure like story perspective, whether you're bored by it or not, it is new, and I do appreciate that. And I'm this season I'm a little more interested. I kind of like that this episode, one of the objectives was definitely to get this out of Laurel's story so that she can kind of, whatever they're going to do with Laurel is going to be independent of them. There's a couple of theories that the little baby grows up to be, anything from like the albino in DS9 to another character in Star Trek. So there's a couple of theories which are interesting. But I do see how all of that is like super Star Trek Game of Thrones. Like I definitely don't deny that like there is like a strong, this is something new. We're not used to seeing this kind of thing necessarily in Star Trek, but I would also argue that Game of Thrones, Battlestar Galactica, even The Expanse has to give a nod to shows like DS9 that like really I think did change television and how television is. I do think that Star Trek at one point was like super revolutionary and changed the way TV is. Is Star Trek Discovery doing that? No. Is that an expectation of mine? Yes. So, but you know, it could come back. It could happen in season 3.
That moment between Laurel and Ash Tyler, where he's like, "Yeah, you speak English," and blah blah blah. When he reveals to her, like, when you touch me, the intimacy feels like a violation, and she immediately withdraws, as like she's a very understanding and like kind person in that sense, and I like that about her. And I thought, just occurred to me, maybe she's beautified herself or made herself look less rugged to kind of appeal to him more, because she believes he's more human than Klingon, but he believes he's more Klingon than human. So I don't know.
He's all kinds of fucked up. I mean, like, it's just he's like.
My main beef with him is what they did with him in season 1, like episode 15, because essentially what they're trying to explain is they took a Klingon, they made him look like a human, and then they like essentially placed the human consciousness or the human mind of this real Tyler on his own mind, and then they activated the Vok. The Tyler went away, the Vok came out, and then he got all mad. And then, like, in episode 15, they all of a sudden, out of the blue, established that he can now essentially control and access both people. He can now either be Tyler, either be Vok, access the memories of both, access the capacities of both, and that's
called plot convenience.
Yeah, but that's not right at all.
No,
the fact that
but
was,
actually,
that
for
made
Doctor
episode
Who
15,
fans, for Doctor Who fans,
Who.
I know it's not Doctor Who, but just for Doctor Who fans, Gary, you can remember when Rory, a character named Rory, died and like had a memory of his previous life because he was a duplicate created by Autons or something. It was like some crazy thing. I love it. I think that those kinds of science fiction concepts are crazy. Do you think
But
Laurel is going to
the
eventually
problem-
become like this? Like, do you guys? This is a female Klingon from the original series. It's
God.
true. This is,
Yeah, but
do you think?
she would look more like that chick from Star Trek 6. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't. They wouldn't go to the
Oh, as
extreme
it were.
nowadays of
Right,
having
that's true.
just
As it,
actors in face paint. They
as
wouldn't.
it
They wouldn't
were.
do that.
Let me find As it were. She's cool.
The problem is once you establish that it's a personality that's been placed on top of another personality, and that once you activate the original one, the other one goes away. You can't then just I understand your the appeal of sci-fi concepts, but they have to make sense within each other. You can't just replace them by another and do whatever that. It has to be plausible, believable, right?
Vok transforming into Ash Tyler, and then consequently he becomes two of them. Makes no sense. Not only does it not make sense, the process in which he was changed makes no sense. Transporters take apart every part of your being. How could they not detect when, how they have to identify people, like Pike with the handprint stuff? Wouldn't a transporter already know everything about you?
But that's like season 1 flaw. So I'll just leave that to season 1. The problem is here in this episode, we're banking on the fact that he can still access both memories.
Oh yeah, that's stupid. Yeah.
So we're still using the flaws of season 1.
I actually don't think
is the problem.
I don't think
guy.
it's stupid.
I don't think we're going to see too much of the Klingon stuff though in this season. Maybe 1 or 2 more episodes. I think it's all going to be about Tyler and Section 31 now.
Okay, I don't think so. They're going to show us a lot of Laurel. Mary Chieffo is a very important actor to the cast and crew of Discovery. Yeah. She represents all that is feminism and strong female characters, etc. She is very vocal about that, and they will not dismiss her or put her aside. They want that. They target people that are attracted to that, so they will have her.
Okay. Well, hopefully we don't see too much, because I just want them.
I agree. I think the character's lame.
The last episode, you get this kind of promise that now we're going to go on the next Red Burst adventure. Now we're going to go on the next, and it was all going to be like an episodic thing, and then they do this bottle episode. I like the Tilly storyline. Mary Wiseman is perfect in that role. I had criticisms in episode 1, but episode 2 and 3, she's better than she's ever been. She's more useful than she's ever been. She's smarter than she's ever been. She's losing her mind, and she still can function, at least to a degree. I love the conversation between her and Burnham.
Where Burnham actually admits. I thought that was cool.
What
was cool about this is that there's a lot of critiques about Burnham's know-it-all type of attitude and everything. And here she admits, she's like, I love a mystery, basically. She's like, I think she's kind of establishing herself to be that person who does want to solve these unsolvable things and stuff like that. So a few episodes ago on Starfleet Boy, we talked about how in a joking way, that at the end of the arc, we're going to discover that the Red Angel is possibly Burnham, and we came up with a nickname for her called Mother Burnham. And I thought it was funny that we actually do have a mother on Star Trek Discovery, and it's Mother Laurel. What do you guys think? Since Mother Laurel is obviously never mentioned in any subsequent series, right? That's the problem of a prequel show, right? Is how do you explain this really important character never coming up ever again? That being said, what do you guys think the show? What direction ultimately do you think the show is going in with Laurel's character? And what do you think is going to be the outcome? And how are they going to tie it into a way that we all think oh, that ties in perfectly with future Trek?
It doesn't matter. Have you ever heard Worf? Have you ever heard Worf mention any Chancellor other than the active Chancellors like Martok?
Deanna, you remind me of the
Garon.
great mother of the Klingon Empire, Laurel, when you kiss me that way.
God damn.
The story of Vok and Laurel. She does describe their romance as as good as Kalis and his wife. So she sees herself as a very important figure, but obviously she's not remembered. And that kind of makes me wonder what's going to happen to her character. The
No
red.
one mentions older like other chancellors ever in Star Trek. So it's like it doesn't matter if she has impact or not, and if she's not mentioned later on. If you know what I mean. Like it makes sense that she would never be mentioned just because I mean we don't go around talking about, you know, every US president that existed or whatever.
That's true. That's true. Thanks for using the United States in his example, Sean.
You're welcome.
Can I just say about Michael Burnham?
Yeah.
She has never been more likable as she has been in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, because she got put
It's like
in a place by
her
a mother.
character just changed overnight.
Yes. Pike.
Kurtzman, the Kurtzman directed episode is like she's such a shrewd, like correcting, I'm right, do this, and they make other characters look extremely dumb to put her over. And I think that's a Kurtzman thing.
No.
And then you get Jonathan
I
Frakes.
disagree. I'm sorry. People
No,
blame.
I mean, just in this particular episode, I know she's had that thing before.
Okay.
But I'm talking about like Connolly and specifically, like Connolly is such the J.J. Kurtzman type character that he'll put in a show or movie. Has no business being in Starfleet. He's questioning everybody. He's an asshole. It's not just Burnham. He's not like some sexist, racist guy who's just going after Burnham. He corrects Saru in the elevator. And I'm thinking, how the hell is Pike tolerating this? How is this the guy who's going to replace Spock? That made no sense to me. It's like putting in a dumb character just to have him like so you cheer when he dies later. But and Michael Burnham in that episode is like is Michael Burnham from season 1. She's very shrewd and it's like see episode 2 they said we'll go in a different direction and she's warm and she's inviting and when she's having conversations with Pike it just feels very natural. They have great chemistry and like I'm falling in love with Michael Burnham now. Even the Ash Tyler relationship, which irritated the shit out of me, except for a few good scenes last season. I love that little scene where they're talking to each other in the holograms, and they do like varying shots of like him there, her in her quarters, him there, and seeing her hologram, and then they do like a split screen of the sets. I thought that was great. That was actually the best hologram moment in the show. So
I'm going to play devil's advocate just for a bit because I seem to be the only one that's trying to defend Alex Kurtzman. The complaints that you have of episode 1, that episode was written by Gretchen J. Berg and Aaron Harberts. Those who got fired, and I mean those were they were huge. I'm sorry, they were the problem.
Yeah,
they were the problem with the writing, and their problem persisted into season 1. It so happens that Alex Kurtzman directed that episode. I don't know how much influence he had on the script or on like the storytelling or the way it was done, but they wrote the episode. They were the problem. And now they're gone. And we see a clear improvement after now that Kurtzman is showrunning. I'm not saying Kurtzman is like the Star Trek messiah that we're all looking for, right? But I mean, it seems to be getting better under his leadership.
If he's taken over and we start to see that in the later episodes, like we truly see like his not direction but his vision, and it actually is better and it is more canon, I guess, or whatever, and it's just more satisfying as an overall TV show with a great narrative and a complete story, then that will be the proof in the pudding, I guess. But right now I'm still unsure about Alex Kurtzman. So
fair enough. Based
on his history, but you know, he could very well improve. They gave him the 5-year deal. Why did they do that? They must have faith in him. So
they must. I mean, people don't like the fact he was associated with Transformers, but he did Transformers, I think 1 and 2, but then he jumped out of that. So, right? I mean, he was associated with the Kelvin timeline, but then we don't know how much he did with that.
Has anybody seen The Mummy?
I saw The Mummy.
One? The Brendan Fraser
Mummy
one?
2017. The Tom Cruise one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an excellent movie by any means, but I found it not as terrible as people thought. I thought it was all right, but he was tasked with like introducing an entire cinematic universe in one Mummy movie, and I thought he did what he did wasn't bad. I don't act that good in a while.
Do you guys think it's interesting at all that Section 31 is interested in preserving L'Rell's position of power? Like, does that like make sense to you?
That's Burnham's fault.
Yes, absolutely.
Burnham did that. She, well, I mean, Ash, when he contacted Burnham, and then all of a sudden, Section 31 knows about it. I think they intercepted that, like,
what do you
holographic
think Section
communique.
31's ultimate plan is? Why are they interested in the discovery? Like, why are they interested in all of this? Like, is this in line with what you imagine Section 31 to be like? These are questions I had during the episode.
Section
Well, the
31.
spore driving the Klingon Empire would be points of interest for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Section 31 desire, like, they portrayed as mean bad guys and they're all dark and everything, but they desire peace and they desire like protection of the Federation, right? That's what they want. They're just willing to go to like more extreme means to do that, which means if they saw an opportunity to kind of maintain the Klingon Empire at bay and have it stable, then I think that's a good thing for them. Like, okay, we can have the Klingon Empire remain stable. It's just that Starfleet can't go in there and assassinate someone and their house, but Section 31 can do that. So it is all for the good of Starfleet and for the good of the Federation and its citizens. It's just that they go to extreme measures. I just hope that they don't make them look like mustache twirling bad guys, because that's not what Section 31 is. No, they're morally gray people, right? That still wants to protect the interests of the citizens of the Federation.
In this show, Pike describes them when he meets Giorgio, threat assessment, and threat assessment and covert ops, and that's all it is. It's just like the 23rd century version of that. And they don't show their people complain that they show their badges.
Pike didn't meet George. Pike didn't meet George.
They don't show their badges. They don't walk around with badges on there.
Well, they did in season 1.
Wait, did I miss they retcon that now to where they have it in like a little
PJ,
you know.
PJ, you said when Pike meets, are you talking about from the trailer? What they said
in a future episode, Giorgio comes aboard the Discovery.
That's right.
And she flashes the badge, which she must love doing because she must do that like 5 times. At the end, she's gonna be like, "Here's my badge. Here's my badge. Here's my badge." And I get how people are irritated about that. Like they should be a little more covert about it.
I think
they're not secret though yet.
I really love Michelle Yeoh in all of her sword fighting movies. So actually, I kind of love that she's like an action star and that there might be a show that has more action stuff. Again, I know this is not a Doctor Who show, but there was a show called Torchwood, and I think of Giorgio a lot like that show, like Captain Jack in a sense. She's like a rebel character who is gonna have her own organization. I kind of love that Star Trek is doing these like spin-off shows. I am curious about Section 31, especially after seeing the ship in this episode, especially after seeing that dual deck bridge and like all the kind of like little covert things. Even the style was very different. It was a blue kind of looking bridge. It was interesting.
Everything's blue in the show. It's the bluest show I've ever seen. Except for when they show Klingons, and it's all secret.
The Section 31 ship being dark and blue wouldn't bother me if the rest of the show was normal. Like, if you were to say the rest of the show is normal, Section 31, they're dark and blue, and they've dimmed the lights for Emperor Giorgio or whatever. It's like, okay, I can buy that, but then it's just like everything is always blue, and then this becomes blue plus. It's all intense. So it was a bit much. But then I don't understand how, because they have viewing parties. We've seen behind the scenes images of everyone, like cast and crew, watching the episode. How does no one at no point ever say, isn't that just a little too monochrome? I mean,
well, what if they're saying it? What if they're saying and you don't know?
Like, well, maybe, but then
it wasn't alive. It wasn't like alive.
Is being dismissed,
How do you
that's
know?
The person that should be promoted.
How do you know? How do you know all this stuff? You know all this stuff.
I don't know all this stuff, but then the show gives us the scene, and the scene is blue.
I think that like I'm letting go of, because like I don't agree with the aesthetics. That's already been established, right? So now I have to like stop focus on it because it's not going to change dramatically overnight. It's not going to turn into like my ideal Star Trek show. I don't have any involvement in it like that has a controlling interest, right? But I have to say that like this season, what's exciting is that like all of that stuff is less important because the story seems to be so good, at least for me on a personal level. And I'm really into it. Like I'm actually like really eating up all the stuff that's happening. Like, I definitely want to know what the Red Angels is. I have a theory, guys, if you want to hear about it, or it's a desire.
Go ahead.
Like, I would love it if at the end of this arc, the Red Angel is revealed to be William Shatner. It would be like the best thing ever. Could you just imagine if like William Shatner, he's like playing like maybe like I just posted this on Twitter, but maybe he's like playing a mirror universe Captain Kirk who's old and from the future. So he's like come back to stop Lieutenant Spock from failing. Oh my god, the reaction is like perfect.
I have a theory about the Red Angel, and I think it's the most obvious one that they're Iconians. They're leading the Discovery on a final voyage to save a bunch of shit, and then they're gonna say, okay, stop using the network now because we're the only ones who are sophisticated enough to control it without destroying the multiverse like they almost did last season. The Mirrorverse people used the spore technology. They almost destroyed like existence itself. So on that basis, it should have been banned. You know what I'm saying? But they're still using it, and that's okay, just as long as it's connected to the Red Angels. Because the Iconians have something like where they can have gateways or instantly travel between one point and another, right? So it would make sense to have the Iconians kind of like be this species, the Red Angel or the Red Angels. It could be only one thing. It could be like one godlike creature, or maybe a species of people. So I don't know.
Do you guys have any theories as to what or who May is?
They say what she is in episode in the episode.
Yeah, she's
a multi-dimensional parasite.
Right, but like, why is she presenting as this character? She knows Stamets. She calls him the cat. Like, there's these like little mysteries. Like, whatever she is, like, I get that there was a fungus that was infecting Tilly.
Isn't it just the same thing that appeared as Kolbe? And now is appearing.
Do you think that that's what it is?
I don't think she was a ghost, though.
I would like Discovery to have someone cough lightly in season 2, all right? And then another person cough lightly by the end of season 2, and gradually, as the seasons go by, everyone coughs more until someone coughs blood and dies. And then they establish that it's the spore drive, and that the spore drive has been affecting the crew all along, and that's why they shut it down, because it's just killing everyone. Right, and it's a terrible thing. And they managed to save some crew members, but some crew members die. Stamets dies, Tilly dies. All of the people that were involved with it directly die.
That's
because they would. I know, but it would be amazing if they set it up now, right? If they started having people cough and eventually killed them, it would be amazing. You'd be like, oh my god! And that's why they shut down the spore drive, because it's not viable. It's terrible. It kills people. That's my want and need. You want Shatner, I want that.
I do want Shatner. It's true. What about you, Gary? What do you want out of Star Trek Discovery season 2?
Star Trek weapon.
What do you want out of Star Trek Discovery season 2? Like, what would be your desired outcome for the end of this season? And then PJ, the same question to you. I know you've kind of answered it, but still.
I don't know. More backstory. I really want just one more backstory about Captain Pike. I really want more backstory about how Spock became the person who became the original series. I want this mystery to be solved. I don't care about the Klingons. I don't care about the D7, although it's great.
Wait, Gary, could you hold your thing all the way up?
I am holding it.
Oh, now you sound way better. Okay. Like, hold your thing.
I'm like a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
So wait, you said you basically care. The thing that you care the most about is the Spock and Pike.
Pike and Spock.
Story.
So you care about the original series. It's horrible for Discovery.
Yeah, but they call the show Discovery. They should have called it Pike and Spock.
But I mean, I wouldn't mind if Ethan Peck is phenomenal as a Spock, as Lieutenant Spock at this period. Like, I already love Anson Mount's portrayal of Captain Pike. Like, I think it would be great if they got a spin-off series also. I know everything's a spin-off, as Ketwalski would say at this point, but I wouldn't mind that at all. we probably should wrap up this discussion and give our ratings soon, unless you guys have like in your notes like some serious
I don't have
points
anything in my
to
notes,
cover.
but I have breaking news.
Oh, this
36
rarely
minutes,
happens.
36 minutes ago, Chris Obi just tweeted live from Montreal, baby. Soon gonna do some crazy posting about some new Star Trek Discovery season. It's lit. So this Chris Obi is Takuvma, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So Takuvma's talking Star Trek Discovery, and he's in Montreal. Like they film in Toronto. So
Why
is
is he in
Takuvma coming back?
Montreal?
Are they gonna give us some like?
Oh, come on. Hey,
It could very
calm
well
down.
bring
Calm
Chris
down,
Obi
everyone.
to play another character.
That's okay.
Could be, but is it flashbacks to Takuvma?
Hope not. Because
What could it be, Gary?
what's the point of that? What would be the point of flashing back to Takuma again?
Okay, is he just not dead? Surprise.
Oh,
Surprise.
Go ahead, Gary. Tell us what you think.
Nah.
Oh, Gary. Come on, you had a thought.
No, it's not gonna be anything. I mean, he's probably just making some tweets to get some more followers or something.
Oh, come on.
What pissed me off at the beginning of season 1 as well, they announced everyone like so grandly, like, oh, Chris Obi, oh, Michelle Yeoh, and then they just killed them in the first episode. So I don't think it's so much significance. Maybe they're gonna say like, who Takuma's baby is, alive and because in the next fly or something. But they're never gonna show Chris Obi in the screen anymore. I don't think that's. I wouldn't think.
I forget who it was, but someone said that in science fiction you never really die, and like so you never know like what could be the reason. It could be Takuma's clone. Maybe Takuma.
I did have a chat one convention that
Oh my God.
did the same thing. That's
right. That's probably that's actually where I probably heard about it. Who was that
31.
with?
Section 31 saved Takuvma in extremis at the Battle of the Binary Stars.
But if he comes back, we have to see Captain Lorca and Giorgio as well.
Oh my God! Well, we already have Giorgio. I will say one thing. I dislike Michelle Yeoh's performance as Emperor Giorgio. She's an amazing actor. She's very talented. And I think that Captain Giorgio was one of the best things that Discovery gave us because it suited Michelle Yeoh very well. But then I didn't like Emperor Giorgio at all. I think that doing this kind of dark and gritty character doesn't suit her. Or at least this dark and gritty character didn't suit her. And I enjoyed the fact that now Emperor Giorgio is kind of trying to be like Captain Giorgio in the prime timeline, because it almost seems like they noticed that the performance wasn't as compelling, and so they're trying to bring back the Captain Giorgio performance. That's how I felt about it. So I'm happy.
Michelle Yeoh is like a really great actress, and then you watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or even recently I saw Crazy Rich Asians. She's really good in that. But for some reason, her acting is just not as good when she plays Emperor Giorgio. Even her line reading is a little off, it seems. But when she was playing Captain Giorgio, she was a bit more natural. I don't know. It's weird how she's not able to grasp the evil character.
The character doesn't suit her.
Well, we get glimpses
as well.
We get glimpses in this episode of a different dynamic, because I like the one scene. I know that maybe it's a little too cheesy or whatever, but I kind of like the scene where Ash, Tyler, Voke were holding the baby on the bridge of the Section 31 ship, and for a moment you see like a little smile as Giorgio's looking at the baby, because what good soul would smile? The baby. It's possible, but like for a moment there, I just saw something interesting in the character where I was like, and then she gets really serious when Tyler looks at her like pretending not to be interested,
But that contradicts what he says to Laurel.
Well, it does, but I think she actually knew Laurel would make the choice. I think she knew she had to present Laurel with these things to see where Laurel's head is, so to speak, right? Like she has to see if like Laurel is
not here anymore, that's for sure.
You just don't want me to get my points across, and I get it. I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to distract me, and you're very good at it. But like, you're like, he's saying something interesting. Let me interrupt him. I don't agree with that. Let me interrupt him.
Proceed.
Well, anyways, I want to close the show by asking you guys, what was your absolute favorite moment in this episode? Not now that we've talked about all the things that we have like critiques about, what just like worked beautifully in this episode? What was your favorite scene? Each of you, and Gary, you have to participate.
Shall I go first then?
Yeah, I would love it.
Okay, so my favorite scene probably Tilly in the sick bay, and Saru just explains to her like, you're going to go not in the sick bay, it was in the engine.
Yeah,
okay,
or
you're
like
going
the
to
engineering, yeah.
Yeah, so you're still going to do the command training, and you're lucky because Captain Pike has a sense of humor. That was the best. That was the best scene in the whole. Next.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Next.
Well, my favorite scene was the one in where Tilly goes in. She goes back to her quarters, and Michael is there, and Tilly asks first. No, Michael Burnham's like, "What's wrong?" And Tilly's like, "Were you crying?" She's like, "I asked first." And they had that moment, and Mary Wiseman's acting is like Emmy. I'm not joking here. Emmy award-winning level in that particular scene when she reveals to Michael that she's been hallucinating about May and all of this stuff. And then Michael gives her that pep talk about, how come the rock interacted with you? It interacted with spores. How come it didn't shock me? You don't need the doctor. You need Stamets. So that particular scene sticks out to me. So pretty good.
Your turn. Trek on the tube.
Ironically, it was a Klingon / Section 31 thing that I enjoyed. It's not so much it's not so much a scene, but it's more what you understand. The whole way Lorel presents she lies about the events. She says that what's his name? Cole Shah came to kill the baby. But then, so he killed the baby, and then Tyler and them.
Tyler killed the baby. She says Tyler killed the baby.
She accuses Tyler.
Yeah, okay, that's
killing,
it. Tyler killed the baby.
Yeah.
She lies about that, but she says so. Tyler killed the baby, and then so he came to defend the baby, and then they got into a fight and killed each other, and then she says so that's a proof that the Klingon houses can unite, etc. I really like that. I think so. It is clearly a lie that's been established by Section 31. Or at least like Giorgio. It's not a Lorel lie. She's not clever enough. But I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very sneaky, very well done, and I don't know. I was like, oh, that's interesting that she would say that, and that's how she's going to maintain control. I like that. I'm not so much a fan of the scene itself, where she's talking, to all of the other Klingons, but I liked that kind of reveal, that explanation.
All the scenes you guys mentioned are really awesome, and I'm glad mine is different. My favorite scene was when Burnham and Amanda are talking to Pike in his ready room about breaking into the medical files, and then they have that whole exchange, and you get a really cool what you expect about Pike, and then also learning some new things that kind of shed some more light on the world of Discovery, if you will. I know that you hate that term, Sean, the world of Discovery, but we are in the world of Discovery.
Why do I hate that term?
Because you don't want it to be separate from Star Trek. You think right now that it's not Star Trek completely, and it's when I start using that, you're like, no, that's wrong. It is Star Trek. That's what CBS say, and it's boom. You can't differentiate it. I know that's why you hate it. So anyways, with the world of Discovery, I don't think excludes it from being Star Trek. It's just that we're learning so much about this era, this time period. Why is everything weird? And we're still learning about those things. But what I did like is that there was this moment where the captain at the starbase that Spock was stationed at for his medical rehabilitation or whatever he was doing there, says you're one of 2 captains that I know that still uses view screens. And I think that's so interesting because later on, that's all anyone ever uses. So like, I'm curious, like what happens that stops, just a lot of thoughts like that come up, it's like, it's interesting. They don't say anything, but they threw that in there. And I think it's important. I think it's also a nod to the fans who are puzzled like we are, where we're like, it doesn't make sense that there's like augmented humans and like robots possibly. Well, I don't think we've actually seen a robot, but I don't know what REM is. But
at this time now they're using flat screens where you see a flat image, right? Yeah, I don't know about TOS, but I know in TNG the screens are hollow screens.
Yeah,
so that when you move, the perspective changes on the other side, right? So I think that's the flat screens and the holograms are going to merge into the hollow screens. And I think like there's a book called Desperate Hours where they talk about how they imply that holograms are easily hackable.
Oh.
And they could be that's probably what, like
you can impersonate someone else with a hologram.
I bet you Emperor Georgiou saw that communique between Ash Tyler and Michael Burnham. And then she shows up like right after.
That's interesting. You know what I mean? That's very interesting. Anyways, a lot of things to explore, but that was my favorite scene. I thought I just continue to be in love with Captain Pike, and those are my closing for my favorite scene. So I think it's time we give our rating, unless you guys have any other thoughts to present. I always go first because no one believes my rating. And believe it or not, I had a higher rating when I came into this discussion. This happens often to me. So my rating was much higher, but now it's a little bit lower. And so I give this episode a 9. I had originally 10 for this episode as well, but the final Starfleet Boy rating is a 9. So Gary, in case you don't know, the last 2 episodes got 10s for me, and so we finally break the streak and we go down to a 9. So now it's now let's hear your ratings. Whoever wants to go next.
I would give it a 5.
Wow, that's like a dramatic. So you just brought the average way down. You just undid my 9.
But it's half a good episode. That's the way I see it. It's one half is not good and the other half is good.
But I like it.
There's one thing about the Klingon stuff that I like. I like Cole Shah just to laugh at him. It's like unintentional humor because he gets in there and he's like so predictable, like what he's gonna say, like he's like Federation puppet, and he's all like, ah, it's so over the top and like villainy, but like the whole soap opera baby drama, didn't care for. I like some of the Section 31 stuff, but I like the Tilly stuff more than anything. And, I'd give the last episode like a 7.5 or an 8. And the previous episode, like maybe a 6. So this is the worst one, technically, for me in this season. But I can't imagine it's going to get worse than this. So.
All right, let's hear the other ratings. Let's see what the average is going to be. Do you want to go last, John? Is that why you're laughing?
I can go last. Gary, I can go whenever.
Gary, what do you want? Do you want you usually give Gary the last.
Okay.
Let's save Gary for last.
I'll save Gary for last. I give the episode a 6.
Okay. 6.
A 6. There were a lot of things that I enjoyed, a lot of things that I did like, a few things that I didn't enjoy. It's on par with episode 1 of the season. I think it's like a dramatic upgrade from season 1, generally speaking. But there still are a few flaws, and I think that the few flaws that I saw in this episode are the same ones that I saw in episode 1. It's kind of like that season 1 clinging on, whereas episode 2 was its own thing. This was the new discovery. It's the new world of discovery, right? So yeah, 6.
A whole new world. That's where we'll be. A thrilling chase. A wondrous place for you and me. Sorry. Go. All right, Gary.
I have to recover. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so
John and I have been having some other drinks during this.
I only had coffee.
I had a beer. Come on. It's fine.
Go on.
Okay, so we had Klingon story, we had Burnham, we had hang on, No, I know. We had Section 31. We had Saru and Tilly, and we have a baby Klingon. There's 5 things that I noticed in the show. I only cared about 1, so I give it a 2.
A 2?
Yeah,
Wow! Oh
like
my
20%.
god!
So there you go.
Wow. So wait, what is the
shit.
average? A 9, a 5, a 6, and a 2. Let's see. Hey Siri, what's the average of 9, 5, 6, and 2?
I haven't.
It's a 5.7. So
That seems
almost.
that seems right. That seems like perfect.
That's pretty
So
close to
I
my 6, so I'm fine, right?
So I represent like the extremists. Like I'm the
You
Vulcan
always
extremist.
do. You always are. You
Wow.
gave 10 to episode 1. That makes no sense.
I know it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to me. Wow. And then Gary's the other extremist.
If you would have asked last time for like the episode 2, I would have given like a 9 because I really enjoyed that.
New
For
Eden.
I would have given 9.
Sweet.
For the first one, I would have given like 7.
Mm.
But for this one, a solid 2.
So an
Solid
average
2.
of an average of about, we'll round up because the captain's prerogative to a 6. So I say that's pretty cool. Come on, 5.75. Like it's safe to just round it up to.
You have to believe
6.
the math. This is it. 5, 7. Don't make it look better.
Fine,
It's his
5.75 from
rules.
the.
He makes the rules up as he goes along.
I do.
I mean,
It's true. I do.
You can't trust him.
Hey guys, this was super enjoyable having you on. Can you guys tell the audience anything that you'd like to promote? We don't have like a large audience, PJ, but you know, there's quite a few people, maybe like 5 or 6.
Don't worry, I don't have a large audience either.
So if you'll go ahead, PJ, I'll let you get started, and if you want to promote anything or talk about anything.
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Bowtrek, which you may find some videos on there sometime. And you can find me on Twitter at PJ's Channel 1.
Awesome. And what is can you I just asked, like, I don't know if this is an ignorant question because maybe you talked about it already, but why Bowtrek? What does that mean?
It's actually boat wreck, like a boat wreck.
Ah!
And then I was like, I said, oh well, I'm from like Eastern Canada, so boats and Trek. I don't know.
We have 2 Canadians.
I think I was high. You know, I think I was high.
Oh, it's interesting.
What's the Twitter handle?
PJ's channel 1.
Okay.
So we have 2 Canadians and a Brit / Hungarian and an American on our show. That's quite international, I would say. It's very cool.
I'm not Canadian.
What?
I'm not Canadian.
2 people living in Canada.
Are you from New Zealand? Are you from New Zealand?
Yes, it's New Zealand. Yes. This is always a point of contention with Sean. And he speaks really good French, and I'm learning French.
At least you don't say that I'm Australian.
I don't.
I mean,
I don't.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference in the accents.
Gary,
my accent makes no sense. My accent is a Discovery Klingon visual redesign of an accent. So,
Gary, would you like to...
New Zealand is more e, like, and Australia is more relaxed.
PJ,
like,
please don't ever do. PJ, please don't ever do your New Zealand accent ever again. I'm just kidding.
I wasn't doing it. I was just saying like they have more like e, and it's a sharper sounds, it seems. So that's why I can tell, but nobody else can.
Sean's accent is a mix, actually. I have to say, he's like Captain Picard. I feel like he has that Captain Picard accent. It's a little British, a little New Zealand, a little French. It's a little.
I'm the melting pot of accents.
It's true. So
do I have an accent?
No, you sound American.
You sound American,
really?
like most Canadians, to be honest.
This is not my natural accent, by the way. I'm speaking more clearly than I usually do.
Really? Can we hear your... Sorry, I know. I'm sorry. This is distracting, but we're off topic, audience. I apologize. But can we hear your actual...
We're giving the ratings. They're on now.
They're already done. Can we just hear your real accent real quick?
Well, you got to stop telling me what to do. You're bugging the shit out of me.
It sounds like a Northeastern American accent, actually, to be honest. So maybe there's some truth to that because you're so close to
It's
accent?
Irish. It's got in Newfoundland we have an Irish twang, so
I like it.
Is that kind of Fargo?
No, Fargo's more like
the
in the
Bears.
middle. The
Yeah,
Bears.
that's Minnesota, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a Minnesota slash Midwest accent is what we would call it here. All these accents. I don't know
I
what
live in Ontario, and everybody sounds like they're from Fargo. When you go to Ontario, Canada, it's like everybody's like, "Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
How you doing?"
I love that show.
Speaking of accents,
Anyway.
Gary's accent sounds very British to me. He sounds like a Londoner, so I don't know. He lost his Hungarian. I don't know what your Hungarian accent would have sounded like. But Gary, what do you have to promote?
My British accent is very Indian, actually. Thank you.
Oh, whoa, that's really good.
You should cut this out.
No, I can't. We don't edit. You're gonna be
over. No one has gone before.
Wow, that's really good. You sound like my relatives in England. That's really awesome.
Oh my God, there's Napoleon out there.
Wow. Gary, stop. Quit while you're ahead. No,
I sincerely apologize to everyone.
No, you're fine. That was actually really good. That's why I'm a little shocked.
I regret. I'm never going to speak in Indian dialect again.
No, it was really cute. It was really cute. I liked it. Gary, what, as an Indian person of descent of Indian, I approve your Indian accent. It was very good. Can you tell me what you're promoting? Because this is going to go on right after we finish recording. So what are you promoting?
I'm promoting Track and Field, fantastic content. I'm promoting Starfleet Boy, awesome. And I'm promoting Bow Track as well.
Nice.
I actually just subscribe. So
what's that?
Make Darren subscribe and give some love to him.
Since you won't promote yourself, I will promote you. Everyone head over to Trekker Prize's channel. It's very awesome. Gary mixes a little bit of his journey through life, which I love. I love knowing more about Gary, along with his knowledge of Star Trek. He's also an Orville fan. I have to admit, Gary, I have not watched a single episode of season 2 of The Orville yet, but I will catch up soon. I believe it's available on demand, and I'm curious to see, because there's a lot of buzz still on the internet about The Orville. And if you go to Tracker Prize, you could also get Doctor Who news. There's a bunch of awesome things, and I definitely recommend you tune in. Also, Gary is a very extremely gifted designer slash graphic designer slash artistic director, whatever you want him to be. He's extremely
breaking up. Hey, that's the breaking up. The channel is it's a garbled audio. Can you hear it?
So good.
Something wrong. Wait, I have to fix it. That's not good.
Go to creativetrekkie.com to find out more. Right, Creative Trekkie.
I don't know what that.
Wait a second, I got it wrong, didn't I? What's your domain for your graphic design?
That's creativetrekkie.com.
Oh, I got it. Yes, I knew it by memory. That's amazing. I never get that right. All right, and now it's your turn, Sean.
It's my turn.
Yes, what are you promoting this week?
True Detective. I think everyone should watch True Detective. Season 1 is amazing. Season 2 is misunderstood. It's not as good, but it's still good. And season 3 is really looking really good.
Season 2 is awesome.
I love
beat the shit out of that kid. Anyway.
I don't know if I'll tune into True Detective, but I will say that another show that we both watch, and I don't know if you guys were watching it, is The Expanse, and so we're having our Expanse moment since we had True Detective. Since you're
sci-fi related, The Expanse. That is the sci-fi show that people need to watch.
Yes. So watch The Expanse. Amazon just released all 3 seasons, previous seasons. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it as part of your membership. Otherwise, you got to figure out another way to find it. But season 4 is coming soon, and we're very excited here on Starfleet Boy for that. So thank you guys. I just want to promote all of you guys, obviously, and just say that tune into Drunk Space 9. It's a brand new show. It's very exciting. I'm very excited about it. I'm doing something completely different than I've ever done. Unfortunately, it's only available via podcast, but you could go to iTunes and search for Drunk Space 9. We are no longer Rogue Drunk Space 9. We got into an agreement with the Cardassian Empire, and now we are Drunk Space 9 again. So I'm excited about that. And that's all we've got.
First win.
Live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time.